Welcome to the question of the day. Today's question is from Lee in Minnesota. And Lee asks, I'm currently a salesperson, and my company and I have been considering making me 50% sales manager, 50% salesperson. Should I do this? Great question. I'm going to give you the quick answer and then I'm going to go more in depth. Quick answer is I don't see it work very often. So my answer would be no. I probably wouldn't. Look at pro sports. Pro sports is a really great example, right? I've said many times I love looking at pro sports like the NFL because it's the best business model. It's a cutthroat industry. To get into the NFL, you have to be the top 1% of the top 1% just to even get into the NFL. And you're not even in yet, you're on the practice squad. And so you have to stand out on that practice squad to even get into the main roster. And once you're on the main roster, that doesn't mean you're starting yet. So you got like four other dudes that do what you do, and you have to be the best of them to be the starter. And once you are the starter, you got a target on your back. Everybody's trying to take your spot, and everything is televised to millions and millions of people around the world. So you can't say, like, I did it or I didn't do it. Like, you can clearly see it. And then you got social media and like ESPN shows on Monday morning that are saying everything that you did wrong. And if that's all not bad enough, they have a draft every year just to replace you. So, like, it's a cutthroat industry. And so look at professional sports. They don't do player coaches. And the reason they don't do the player coach is because it doesn't work. The closest you'll probably get is like LeBron. And he's been in the league so long and demands so much that, that just it gets dysfunctional though. Like if you watch it, it gets dysfunctional. So I wouldn't that like I'd use that as a bad example. But that's the closest thing you're going to see to a player coach type of relationship in sports. Um, Now there is a caveat. There is one exception. I would say it can work for a short time. So if this is just a season, if it's a short term kind of thing to get through a tough time, then I would say yes. If everybody's in agreement, like this is what we're going to accomplish, this is how long we're going to do it. Yeah, you could do it, right? And good for you for helping out the company like that, right? Like really stepping up. That's awesome. But for a short time, not for like a ongoing or undefined kind of time. So other than that short time, we're just going to get through this tough season kind of thing. Other than that, I wouldn't. And here's why. Here's the challenges that I see other companies run into when they try to do the player coach, where you're selling and you're a sales manager. It's a lot like imagine you're holding two weights. So you got two dumbbells, one in each hand, and you got to hold them out straight in front of you. Eventually, your arms are going to get tired pretty quickly, and you're going to have to let one of those go to support the other. Otherwise, you're going to do poorly holding both of them up. That's exactly what's happening here. You're trying to do two jobs with the capacity to do one job. You're trying to support the team, but also support yourself. So think of a sales manager. Think of what the responsibilities are. I often get asked, like, what does a good sales manager do? These are the six things I boil it down to. And I'm going to go over them real quick. I talk about them much deeper in other questions of the day or on coaching calls. But if I had to boil it down, the main six things are you're setting goals with the team, like you have a plan, right? You're doing ride alongs, you're doing trainings, one on ones, call debriefs, and you're doing huddles. That right there is a full-time job. Even for a small team, that is a full-time job right there. And so if you're focusing all your efforts there, you won't be running calls to support yourself. And if you're running calls to support yourself, on the flip side, you won't be supporting the team. And so it's the two weights out in front of you. You won't be doing either one really well. You're going to have to let one go to support the other. Second thing is, I don't want there to be any hint of impropriety or favoritism. So a question I often ask when companies considering this is like, well, how are you going to distribute the leads? Because it's going to pretty quickly look like I'm giving myself the good leads, especially if my closing percentage is the highest. If I'm doing really well, everybody's going to say, well, yeah, Chris gives himself the good leads. I don't want even the hint of that happening. Because once that happens, now I've got like a cancer growing in my team. We resent each other and they're frustrated with me because they think I'm cheating the system here and I'm frustrated with them because they think that and now I'm not getting their best effort and so the whole thing just crumbles apart. I don't even want there to be that opportunity that there's that hint of impropriety or favoritism. Third reason is it's tough to step out and not be seen as an equal. Who are we getting today? Are we getting Chris, the salesperson that is the equal to us? Or are we getting Chris, the manager, the one that's holding us accountable? We don't know, right? And for so long, and this is a struggle even if you just get promoted into a sales manager. I was your peer, your equal, and now I'm going into a manager type role where I'm going to be holding accountable. That's tough to jump. But what happens when you're straddling it, right? Like you're just sitting there in both roles and nobody knows who's showing up. Are you the Chris the salesperson or Chris the sales manager? We don't even know, right? You can't you also can't get any long-term traction because you're always in the moment. Leaders have to have the ability to look ahead. They have to have that ability. If this was a pirate ship, they got to be up in the crow nest looking ahead because it's not the day-to-day problems that are going to sink the ship here, right? Like we know those things exist and those problems can be hard, but we know those problems exist. It's the problems I don't see coming. It's not having a clear direction. It's that iceberg dead ahead. Like I need to see that stuff. And so if I'm bogged down in the day to day where I'm just managing this and then quickly running a call and I'm not looking ahead, I can't see where we're going. John Maxwell says a good leader knows the way, shows the way, goes the way. You can't do any of that when you're a player coach. And so your team has no direction. You're just going to be churning in place at the best. And things like coaching, things like a sales plan, things like training, all those things that are going to give us that direction and get us past those obstacles that are coming, those things will take the back seat to, well, we'll do those when we have time, which you won't. You won't have time because you're doing two jobs already. And so you just won't do those things. They won't happen. And so we don't have any long-term vision or traction to get better. It's also going to stunt your growth as an individual. It's going to stunt your growth because there's no time for you to train. There's no time for you to develop. No time for you to go to a class, either as a manager or as a salesperson, because nobody's probably riding along with you. Nobody's training you. Nobody's giving you a one-on-one. There's no growth opportunities for you. And so it's going to stunt your growth in the long term. It's also going to create resentment and burnout. And this isn't a knock on Lee or any specific individuals here. This is just human nature, right? Like you're going to start to get burnt out. You're pulled in too many directions, trying to do too many things, and you're just spinning in place. You're not getting any real traction, and you got all this resentment amongst it. You're going to start to burn out. You're going to start to get frustrated. You're going to start to resent the people on your team. You're going to start to resent the company, the situation you're put in, this role. You're going to resent it. And then you throw in things like how do you get paid? Like how do you, sales leaders generally make less money than a high performing salesperson. Now there's some upsides. There is career path and promotions into other roles that pay better. There's better work-life balance. Like you're not working the late nights. You're not taking the calls on the weekends. There's all that stuff, right? And for some people, they just love coaching and developing. And so it's a role that fits them better. But that adds to that resentment and that burnout when I'm doing all of these things. I'm in early, I'm in late, I'm working harder. and I'm making less money than I used to. Because when I was selling, I I made more money. But now that I'm part-time sales manager, I'm probably making less money. And you may be altruistic that you're giving calls to your team to help them, but then that's hurting you, right? And that causes frustrations at home. I'm making less money. When my wife and I sit down and do the budget, it doesn't fit as well as it used to. And we've got some places we got to start cutting. And so that resentment starts to take hold, and it leads to that burnout and that frustration. Just human nature. You also become a bottleneck. You're a bottleneck on the business because everything now goes through you. You're selling and you're a manager. And when everything goes through you here, you are trying to do the right thing to better the company. But in actuality, what happens is you become a bottleneck because when everything's got to go through you and you're not available because you're running calls, you become a bottleneck and others are waiting on you. You genuinely want to help the business, but you're actually hindering it. The last reason I can think of is your process just becomes the way. Because I'm stretched in so many directions and I'm trying to coach, I'm trying to develop, like the way that I do it just becomes the way rather than actually meeting your people where they are or going back to a sales process. It just becomes like, well, this is how I do it. You need to do it that way too. And then our team, it actually stunts their growth because they're not getting coached, they're not getting developed, they're not getting met where they are. And they just see you as like, well, you know it all and you're taking the hard ones. And so they get stunted behind you because your process just becomes the way because you don't have time for anything else. So there's a number of reasons. There's probably more reasons that I can't think of right now, but those are the common things that I see when a company is trying to do the player coach thing for more than just a short time. And I actually figured this out myself when I became a sales manager. I've shared how I started in automotive. I sold used Subarus. That was my first sales job. But my first sales manager job was I got promoted to a sales manager at a Toyota store, and it was a rather large Toyota store. And I inherited a sales team. It was a mixed bag. I had a veteran on the team that kind of had a poor attitude. I had a veteran that was just kind of a steady Eddie. I had a lot of new people or inexperienced people on my team. And I remember when I came in, now Saturdays are the busy days. Like that's the day, that it's all hands on deck. And I had this mentality of I wanted to be a servant leader, right? And so my team, I'm pushing them really hard. They're getting customers, working with customers, going on test drives, doing all these things, right? And we got to a point where every salesperson in the entire store was with a customer. Well, we had another customer come in. They wanted to test drive a Toyota 4Runner. I didn't have anybody available. So I wanted my team to see like I'm not afraid to take a customer myself. I'm not afraid to 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 do what I have them do, right? I'm a servant leader. And so I take the customers on a test drive. We went on a test drive, did lots of questions. I spent time with them, but I found myself itching to get back because I didn't know what was happening with my team. I wasn't there. I wasn't there to lead the team because now I'm out on a test drive working with a customer and I'm put in that position of now I'm either shortchanging my team or I'm shortchanging this customer. And here's how it turned out. About an hour went by, and by the time we got back, I had my less experienced salespeople, their customers had left. I don't know what happened. We didn't know enough to dig into objections or try to find solutions, or I don't even know what the situations were because they were gone by the time I got there. Had I been there, I would have swung by and maybe I would have had a good idea. Maybe they were cross shopping something else and we had other stores we could go cross shop and keep it within us, right? Like, but we didn't get those opportunities because they left because I wasn't there. We had customers waiting on finance approvals because that was my job to approve the financing. And so we have customers who had already said, yes, they're buying a car, but now they're frustrated because the financing is taking forever. Some of them waited an extra hour because I was out on my test drive with that customer in the 4Runner. And so because they're frustrated, they probably bought less additional product because they're frustrated now. They ain't going to buy a service contract or anything like that. And they probably dinged us on the Google review, probably talked about what a horrible experience they had. So that happened. I caused more harm by taking that customer than had I stayed focused on my role, which is supporting the team, not being Michael Jordan. And to top it all off, we never even sold the Forerunner. So I didn't even get that sale. So for all those reasons, and that example right there, I say it is a bad idea unless it is short term. Now, if you're a company, if you're listening to this and you're a company and you're struggling with, you're kind of that in between size of like, well, maybe we're not big enough for a sales manager yet, but we're not so small either that we can get by without these support things. Schedule a call with me. Let's figure this out, because those things that a sales manager does, like the goals, the sales plan, the ride-alongs, the training, the one-on-ones, those debriefs, those huddles, like those things still have to happen. If we want to have a high-performing sales team, a team that's growing, we still have to do those things. We can't just say, oh, well, we're not going to do them because we're not big enough for a sales manager. We just got to figure out who's going to do it and how are we going to do it. So schedule a call with me. Let's figure those things out on an individual level. So that's your question of the day. That's today's question of the day. Follow, give us a rating. We're on major streaming platforms. If you have a question, reach out to me either on social media or email. Both are going to be listed in the show description. Let's get your questions answered. If you're a Nexstar member, schedule a call with me and let's address this one-on-one. Let's get very specific to your situation. I'm Coach Chris. We will see you tomorrow.